Live from our studio here in Lagos, this is Beyond 100 Days with Nifemi Ogunoye. You can join the conversation right now on X using the hashtag Beyond 100 Days. Remember to tag at TVC News On and at Nifemi Ogunoye. What a day it's been following developments in River State. We'll take a look at the political situation in that part of the country where former governor of the state and minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Imo State, says nothing will happen if the Martins Abewole-led House of Assembly impeaches his successor, Governor Siminalayi Fubara. He said this at a media parley in Abuja earlier today, accusing the governor for alleged imputable offences, including withholding their salaries for months. Reacting to the visit of Governor Fubara to the State Assembly, the former River State Governor, Imo State, says his successor can't show up uninvited at the River State House of Assembly quarters after he demolished the Assembly complex in December 2023.
You can pick up the gauntlet. You can take a horse to the stream, but you cannot force the horse to drink water. You have a problem. Now let me tell you why it's very difficult. No, let me tell you, people should understand. If he was a good person, we have an elder, Chief Ferdinand Alabraba, 80-something years. I'm sure at some time he made his money, this boy was not born. This governor was not born. He was the one who cried in our meeting for a committed an offense to be picked. What is wrong? Is it a criminal offense? It's provided in the Constitution.
You can't just wait till 2027 to vote him out.
Am I a member of the Assembly? The point I'm making, if you have committed an infraction of the Constitution and the Assembly deems it fit to say you should be impeached, let me tell you, politics is not played just like this. Is it the first person that people have threatened about impeachment? Don't you know what to do? What is all this good about you that they will impeach? And let me tell you, and I have had people say, oh, if they impeach him, there will be breakdown one another. Rubbish. Hold on, rubbish. Nonsense, which is nonsense.
Militants, ethnic coloration.
Rubbish. Tell me who are the militants? Who is not a militant? Who is born as a militant?
Former Governor Imo State there. Earlier, Governor Fubara was denied access to the House of Assembly when he arrived to present the 2025 budget. Security personnel manning the House of Assembly quarters locked the gate of the premises, preventing the governor's convoy from gaining entrance. After a brief standoff at the gate, the governor and other government officials departed for the government house. Addressing the press outside the Assembly quarters, Governor Fubara said he was there to present the budget in compliance with the Supreme Court judgment. He expressed disappointment at being locked out despite making several attempts to reach the lawmakers.
Before my arrival, I've already made several attempts by phone call to reach the Speaker and other members. I also did a letter personally which was transmitted to the Honorable Speaker for this particular invitation. But it's unfortunate that at the gates, you can see that the place is completely sealed and there is no sign that anything is going to happen today. The reason why we're doing this, I've always said it, is the interests of our people, which is the most important thing. Well, I don't think there's anything to worry about. Maybe they're working on their letter. I expect to hear from them maybe after this hour. Thank you.
In all the accusation and counter-accusation, President Bola Tinubu has emphasized the critical need for adherence to the rule of law in River State to ensure lasting peace and prosperity. At a meeting with representatives and leaders of the Niger Delta under the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, President Tinubu emphasized that respect for the judiciary is crucial in upholding democracy and fostering harmony. The president advised the leaders to be more broad-minded, selfless, and focus on the larger vision of salvaging the region politically and economically by insisting that the judiciary's interpretations of the Constitution be respected.
So this is the nation of rule of law. I should not be here as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria if there is no rule of law. total confidence in our judicial expectations. Human beings can make errors. But God says, is spoken, that's it. Please go back home and help him implement those recommendations within the shortest possible time. I put the ball back in your court.
Now let's talk about what seems the rivers of crisis and confusion, how Mr. Governor and the people can swim to survival. I'm joined by public affairs analyst and former chief technical advisor to the Imo State Governor, Jerry Chukweke. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. What a day it's been. We're seeing a highly polarized polity. In the same day, Mr. Governor was denied access to the State House of Assembly. We heard from the former River State Governor, Imo State, who is saying, well, there's absolutely nothing wrong if the members want to have the governor impeached. What do you make of the latest developments?
Well, first, I find it most amazing, and I have great respect for Governor Wike, that he's able to do the incredible job he's doing in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, where he is the federal minister, under the circumstance that he can juggle these two things is just incredible. And so you got to quite frankly respect him for that. He's a dogged man. I don't know Governor Fubara as well, but I know of him because I read up. May not be a professional politician, having been a technocrat, but certainly a principled man as well, and a man who means well for his people. My view is that we now need a high dose of humility, of forbearance, forgiveness, love for country, and the big picture. Now we have to look at the big picture. Nothing is any more important than the corporate Nigeria. There are two huge victims in all of this so far. The people of Rivers State and the people of the Niger Delta. And also the fact that investor confidence is bleeding. Those are the two key issues in my view. Mr. President wants to produce 2.5 million barrels of crude in short order. Rivers State and Port Harcourt is the heartbeat of hydrocarbon business. How does this help there? Look at the issue of the progress we are now seeing and the benefits of some tough decisions Mr. President took. Fuel subsidy removal, the issues of stabilizing the Naira in terms of exchange rate, and the big plans, even in the southeast by extension, because some southeastern states are in the Niger Delta region, like Imo, where I come from. That Mr. President is focusing on connecting the southeast to natural gas pipeline so we can power the southeast and power the rest of the south. And also the rail line, standard gauge, connecting the southeast to the rest of Nigeria. Look at all of these that are being put in jeopardy by this chaos. Organized chaos is one thing, but outright and unadulterated chaos is self-destructive.
You know, the former governor played down on the violent and chaotic premonition surrounding this development. I remember having the former Inspector General of the Police on the show last week, who also mentioned that he had intel that things could snowball very rapidly if we don't find a political situation, solution to this challenge.
Yes.
But the former governor is saying there isn't anything like that. The challenge on the table right now is the fact that there is now a Supreme Court judgment. And even though when Pandem visited Mr. President yesterday, Mr. President was also of the opinion that, you know what, we can't turn the rule of law on its head this time. The Apex Court has made a pronouncement that has to be obeyed. Do you find a way around this in any form?
Well, it is going to come down to a political solution, because we'll respect the ruling of the Supreme Court. I see some efforts being made by Governor Fubara to an attempt to do so, but the enabling environment has to cooperate. Listening to former Governor Chukweke, who I have great respect for, and I know him, you see that he's still reeling from the personal grief that he has had to endure and suffer, and the disappointment. That's his side of the story. If you know the history, that's fairly understandable. And that's why I talk about this high dose of humility and forbearance, forgiveness, and love, focusing on the big picture in the interest of the country. Here's the other example. Just yesterday, coming back into Lagos from Imo, I ran into an entrepreneur who runs a business of gas to power. That's what he does. And he said to me yesterday, I have relocated from Port Harcourt to Owerri because my partners, foreign partners, don't want me or anything we're doing to be situated in Port Harcourt. Really? That's serious. And so you can extrapolate what investors are thinking. Investment requires peace and quiet. That's where money goes. Investment requires rule of law. That's what Mr. President was talking about. And so you got to look at that big picture. The issue here is the national interest, in my view. And the national interest is that we need to produce more crude, produce more gas so we can power Nigeria. And Rivers State is the heartbeat of all of this. And so we will plead. That's why I join where Mr. President is talking about. All stakeholders. We just can't keep pursuing the right and in so doing damage the common good. We need to focus on the common good. And I think this can be sorted. It is more of a political solution that will come, because the issue here is the political economy of the Niger Delta, the entire South, and Nigeria. Yeah. Because what we are talking about is the opportunities we have now. We can't afford an eruption of any sort of dislocation.
Asking if we're also adequately, excuse me, if we're also adequately reading the body language. I'm going to play an excerpt from that interview with the Honorable Minister with you shortly, so that we can tell precisely what you think can happen differently from what we've seen in the past days.
You can take a horse to the stream, but you cannot force the horse to drink water. You have a problem. Now let me tell you why it's very difficult. No, not because people should understand. Look, if he was a good person, we had an elder, Chief Ferdinand Alabraba, 80-something years. I'm sure at some time he made his money, this boy was not born. This governor was not born. He was the one who cried in our meeting for an Ijaw man to be chosen to be governor. This elder statesman, he cried in the meeting. Because the consensus almost had treated the Rogodis. In fact, while we were there, the primary was to take place. So the primary was delayed. The rumor had even gone to the delegates that my former Commissioner of Finance, who's a good chap, is the one to be picked. This governor stepped down for him.
Former Chief Technical Advisor to the Imo State Governor and Public Affairs Analyst Jerry Chukweke, thank you for staying the course on the program.
Well, thank you.
So it's apparent that there seemed to be a bitter rivalry between the two in this regard. And you've heard him say it's going to be very difficult if the governor doesn't even acknowledge him. How do we extend an olive branch? The Supreme Court has spoken. We have to follow through what the court has said. You heard Mr. President also said that, well, I had intervened earlier. There was even an agreement signed by the NSA and every other person. What is the way out in this matter? You are appealing, you are speaking peace, but I'm talking about the practicality of this peace. How do you see it come to fruition?
Well, you know, first, the rule of law must play out. And that's part of what we're saying now. The Supreme Court has spoken. We must have a system that works. And again, I come from more of the angle of the the economic impact of all of this to the Niger Delta region and the entire country as a whole. That people who put money want to see a system at work sufficiently. So the rule of law has to be respected. But having said that, I listened to the Minister Chukweke, and former governor of Rivers State. What I see, to be honest, is he feels very aggrieved. And I don't want to read way too much into that, because I also know him to be somebody, when he takes a couple of deep breaths, would say, okay, what's in the best interest of my people? And I know he loves his people and is a committed Nigerian, and the work he's done in Abuja speaks for itself. I know him to be a pragmatist. So we have to rise above all of this, is my view. I don't think it's as difficult as it may look like.
What's your take on the rumors of impeachment?
Well, I don't want to go there. Let me tell you why I don't want to go there. Mr. President is the chief security officer of this country. And I know that is focused on what must not deter from the tough policies and the decisions he took and the positive results we have started to see. It can't happen under his watch that we have complete chaos in Rivers State in whatever shape or form. And I'm sure it's keeping him up at night.
You think there will be chaos if Governor Fubara is impeached?
That's not what I'm saying neither. But I'm saying that Mr. President that I know will do everything. That was part of that engagement with the Niger Delta stakeholders. I'm sure behind closed doors he's doing more. He is somebody that clearly understands the economic implications of outright chaos in that part of our country that will have significant ripple effect, that will be damaging to his program and all the efforts he's put in. I think there'll be a solution.
You look at the governor there, looks cool, calm and collected, even though some would say he's under huge pressure with concerns and huge rumors about impeachment from the Amawule-led House of Assembly. He was at the presidential villa on Monday for the iftar Mr. President had with some of his leaders. You will hear former Governor Chukweke saying that even though it looks like he's doing everything right, he is insisting that it is not being genuine, that the letter he initially wrote to the House inviting them over wasn't signed by him but by his secretary, that there were other means he could have reached out to the leadership of the House instead of writing a letter. He also appeared today in front of the House of Assembly. We are scheduled to speak with the House spokesperson on our news at 7 to get their side of the story. But what is being reported right now was that he was shot outside that complex. So I want you to speak to how you think both men can come to the table. Do you envisage Mr. President being involved in that again? There are concerns about how because the House is due to go on recess. And the former governor, mentioned that briefly earlier today, that they could have gone on recess for like 6 months. The challenge with that is that Rivers will not get its pay, for that period of time, given the position of the Supreme Court.
And can you imagine the implications of that? We have a situation, and I don't want to overemphasize this, but this is how crucial it is, where because of the policies of this government, federal government, we now have a situation where FAC allocations to local governments and states have more than tripled. And a very important opportunity to have more funds to deploy in the development and empowerment of our people in the Niger Delta. It's unthinkable that we could lose this opportunity for 6 months or thereabouts.
So you're saying this reverse challenge is also a Tinubu problem?
He's the chief security officer. I believe Mr. President is working on this. What I see, and I've said this, I think two sides are reeling over grievances. But grievances don't solve anything.
Are there political lessons here?
Well, yeah.
As a politician yourself.
You know, I don't want to go too far, but I have my view on this. You know what I think, really? It is clear now, more than ever before, and we've seen a few examples of it, that it is not as easy and as simple to think you can find a successor who would be beholden to you.
Who has your side?
And it just doesn't...
History has proven otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, you need people who have the maturity to understand and keep agreements. And if you're not mature and you don't know what agreements are and how to implement agreements and respect them, it sounds like story. I'm not saying necessarily that that's the case with Governor Fubara. I'm just saying that my view, it is better to have maturity, political experience, private sector approach to problem solving, courage, dogma.
And don't lose your godfather too early.
That's the, not only that, respect agreements.
Respect agreement.
That's the point.
Good place to leave it. Jerry Chukweke is former Chief Technical Advisor to the Imo State Governor and Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's our show today, everyone. Thanks for being a part of it. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Remember, the conversation continues on X at TVC News NG. See you again, sir.